Unpacking your clay tote, you have clay that is wrapped in 1, 2, or 3 bags, depending on how thick it is. You want to make sure that your clay is kept airtight, otherwise it will dry out your tennis ball, which is much better than a rolling pin. It does not stick to the clay. Roll it out. So keep your fingers from grabbing a hold of it, let it roll freely, and then it will not stick and collect clay on top, otherwise it clumps up on top of the tennis ball. So you want to be careful of that. It is a great rolling pin. You have your paints. Your paints are in a bag inside a little box to help contain them somewhat. You have 4 colors: green, red, which looks pink, blue, and yellow, and then something that looks a little different. It is a clump of clay. It is slip. This is what you join everything together with. You also have a piece of fabric. The fabric is used to pound out clay, where you can tape it down to a table or maybe a big piece of cardboard. You can smash the clay on top of the fabric. It can stick unless you flip things. You may want to flip things and pull it up a few times to make sure it doesn't stick. Don't keep pounding and expect it to not stick. You have some newspaper you can use. And then you have a press mold, and the press mold is for your projects that you may want to add to it. You need a little spray with it. So Pam spray, some kind of cooking spray, a little bit of oil can help make sure that the clay comes out of there. Spray it. It's a little greasy, but make sure that is put in there so it can come out. That is really important. Unpacking your bag, you have all kinds of items inside your bag. There is some paintbrushes, toothpicks, wire, and you have a toothbrush. The toothbrush is used for the slip. It can give you some texture lines that help to connect clay together. You can rub some slip on with your paintbrush or toothbrush so that you don't get your fingers messy, because you can always use your fingers, or you can use a toothbrush to attach your projects. Make sure you follow the paperwork, and the videos show you how you can attach things together properly. 3 different paintbrushes, a large, maybe a medium, and a small to use, toothpicks to carve your name and for drawing, and then a wire that you can use to cut the clay. You do not have to use the wire. You can even tear it with your fingers. You can grab a hold of it and tear it apart, or using a wire. And then we have some newspaper inside of our box. Now, when you are making your projects, many people like to make dice in really small projects. So if you can see, the dice that I have is 3 inches thick. That is too thick. It can blow up. Please try to keep projects 2 inches or smaller. Little tiny cups or projects that you are making need to be attached to a base. We do not have room on the bottom to put your name, and they could get lost. They're hard to fire. So please refrain from having small pieces unless they're attached to a base, just like the panda bear that has a tree and other items that are added to a single base, so it's able to be fired safely. This allows me to put it into the kiln, and it can be safe as it comes out. Now, to package the pieces, they're going to be wrapped up. We bring them over to the box, and you can use anything from plastic bags to newspaper to bubble wrap, anything to help guard them so that when you do set 2 pieces next to each other, they do not chip or break apart. We want to be very gentle, keep them apart from each other, keep them wrapped. There are lots of things that you can dry your project on. Drywall is a good one. That is the best one. There is wood in the cardboard, newspaper, and paper towels that you can use. There's all kinds of things that you can use as long as it absorbs the moisture. Newspaper is fine. The drywall is my favorite. It dries things evenly. If you have thick items, it does not usually crack. Wood is probably second best, and cardboard. And then paper towels would be something that you could also use. Do not put it on a laminated table or a plate or anything that's laminated. This cardboard allows you to spin it around if you can cut it into pieces, and it allows you to paint easily without touching your work, and it keeps it from breaking. Everything is fragile. As it dries, it becomes very brittle. So you want to be very gentle whenever you paint it as it starts to dry. There's newspaper included inside that you can fold up and set your project on. This also allows you to turn it around and paint. Remember, your hands will dry out the clay. The air dries out the clay, so you want to keep it inside the bag. And to keep it moist, you can use a spritz bottle. And as you use the spritz bottle, be very careful. Now we have the paperwork. So what you want to do is make sure you read it carefully. We need your first initial, last initial, and either your house or apartment number. It is very, very important that you keep one code for the entire household. You can also write a name on there, but it has to include a code. If there's multiple names, it will get lost. I need you to be very careful on that. Follow to make sure that items are not too thick or too thin, and that they're not too small. So it's learning to find the balance. It gives you tips and ideas on how to work with the clay on the paperwork. I also have a general liability on the back. Make sure it says on there. You can look through any questions. It gives you my Facebook page. The item right here is too thick. That will break. The item beside it is small, just like I showed you before. Just to give a reference, people like to make dice, and the thick dice break. The liability form is something that needs to be signed. And then please make sure you follow on YouTube for any videos, or you can look up your own videos on clay building. When we work with the clay, you can use those little pieces on top of slab. Before I conclude the video, I simply ask that any materials you have left over you bring back. Leftover clay, cloth that's still good, leftover paints I can reuse. Any of the slip, especially the brushes. Brushes can be expensive. The tennis ball itself, and then definitely the box. Try to keep it in good condition. Thank you so much.